Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're doing Chapter 7, Segmentation, Target Marketing and Positioning, Marketing Management. Tonight's learning objectives: explain the criteria for effective segmentation, identify the various approaches to market segmentation, describe the steps in target marketing, define positioning and link it to the use of marketing mixes, use and interpret perceptual maps, identify sources of differentiation, avoid potential positioning errors. Slide 3, fulfilling consumer wants and needs, which is the bedrock of what marketing is all about. We have market segmentation, target marketing, and positioning it, which means putting it in the marketplace in a way that people will be able to identify it based on attributes of the product or service. Market segmentation, dividing it means dividing a market into meaningful smaller markets or submarkets based on common characteristics. This way you're better able to serve it. Target marketing, evaluating the market segments, then making decisions about which among them is most worthy of investment for development. Positioning, communicating one or more sources of value to customers in ways that connect needs and wants to what the product has to offer, and therefore positions it in the minds of people. Positioning strategies are executed through the development of unique combinations of the marketing mix variables. Slide 5. What is segmentation? Segmentation is defined as seeking to find one or more factors about members of a heterogeneous market that allow for dividing of the market into smaller, more homogeneous subgroups. So you have heterogeneous market, people with different wants and needs, and then you make a more homogeneous subgroup to be able to aggregate people together to be able to better serve their wants and needs. The purpose is to develop different marketing strategies to best meet the segment's distinct needs and wants. Slide 6. What is segmentation? Not all customers are alike. Subgroups of customers can be identified on some basis of similarity. The subgroups will be smaller and more homogeneous than the overall market. Needs and wants of a subgroup are more efficiently and effectively addressed than would be possible with heterogeneous full market. In other words, when everything is all clumped together, it's harder to get everybody happy and to be able to serve everyone's wants and needs. That's why when you lump them together in a more homogeneous way, it's easier and more effective. Criteria for effective segmentation. Number 1, you have to ask, is the segment of sufficient size? Is the segment readily identifiable and can it be measured? Is the segment clearly differentiated on one or more important dimensions? Can the segment be reached in order to deliver the value of the product? In other words, is the segment of sufficient size to warrant investing in a unique value-creating strategy? In other words, is it worth my while for that segment as a target market? Ultimately, there is no point in doing market segmentation unless a positive return on investment is expected. Obviously, the size of segment doesn't necessarily mean number of customers. When Bombardier markets its small Learjets, okay, those are jets, those are corporate jets, it knows the number of potential buyers is limited. Not a lot of people can afford that. Yet segmentation is still a valid approach because of differences in needs and wants among customers and the financial size of the transaction. Same will be true with the military. Different needs and wants of different branches of the service. The Marines may want some sort of attack helicopter, different than the Army would want. Maybe they have different missions. So the segments need to be different in order to serve the needs of various people. Back in the day, there were definitely more differences in airplanes. I'm talking about in World War II. Highly variegated. Different branches had different needs. The Navy had its own Air Corps, which it does today as well. It had its airplanes, the bombers, and not these airplanes that would drop torpedo bombers and fighter planes and whatnot. So there was a lot of different needs, and it didn't necessarily go based on the size of the market, because how many people bought those airplanes? It was only one major customer. It was that particular branch of the armed forces. Yet there needed to be different segments to satisfy different needs. Slide 8. Geographic segmentation can be segmented by region, for example, Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, and West, for example, by density of the population, urban, suburban, exurban, and rural, for example, by size of population, by growth in population. That's another way of segmenting. And of course, the last point, by climate, colder northern states versus summer warmer states, which have different needs and of course even the colors of automobiles, you'll see that. A lot of white cars down south. I noticed that when I went down south on vacation. Demographic segmentation based on age, generational group, gender, family and household, race and ethnicity, income, occupation, education, and social class. Geodemographics, hybrid of geographics and demographic. Prism NE database profiles every zip code in the U.S. by demographics. And psychographic methods, I will post something about this. For example, one of the groups in Prism is called Winner's Circle. Wealthy suburban lifestyle, 35 to 54-year-old, married couples, large families. The median income is $100,000. The area that we live in has parks, golf courses, near upscale malls. They travel, shop, ski, eat out. So it's the wealth. It's not the uber wealthy, but it's the people that are well off. Psychographic segmentation based on personality, lifestyles, and values. AIO, known as attitudes, interests, and opinions. VALS data based on levels of resources and primary motivation. It's another grouping of making sure that the psychographics are addressed. And again, we'll post a video on Canvas for that. So just as a note, VALS, the key drivers in the system are the person's levels of resources, whether they're high or low. In other words, how wealthy, how poor they are. Innovation, high and low, and primary motivation, ideals, achievement, and self-expression. According to SBI, each of us is an individual, yet each of us also has personality traits, attitudes, or needs that are similar to those of others. VALS measures the underlying psychological motivation and resources that groups of consumers share that predict each group's typical choice as a consumer. Now, you can have somebody who's very creative, but if their resources are limited, they're not going to be able to reach that potential. And that's the unfortunate reality. There's so many people out there that have tons of talent and unfortunately never get to exploit it because of lack of resources. So if you look at Exhibit 7.9, you have your innovators on top and your survivors. And you can tell survivors are the low resource, low innovation, because when you're trying to survive and just pay the bills, you really don't have time to be creative. Even if you are a creative individual, even if you have that in you, but unfortunately because your mind is not settled and your mind is elsewhere, you won't be able to get to that point. Innovators have high levels of resources, high innovation. Then you have thinkers, that is in the middle box with primary motivation, and believers, achievers, and strivers. Self-expression, you have experiencers and makers. Those are the people that are up and coming and trying to make a name for themselves. We'll post a video on this as well. Behavioral segmentation, benefit sought, looks to identify the crucial value-adding properties of an offering. Key starting placement for segmentation. What are the benefits that people want? This would absolutely be important in a car, for example. You can have a car, an SUV, based on different criteria. Like I just bought one. I just leased a car. My criteria was that it has to have four-wheel drive, has to have a nice, large trunk space, and of course, very comfortable. But I didn't care about alloy wheels. I didn't care about GPS or the larger backup camera. I didn't care about leather seats or electric seats and all that. I bought the base model. Why? Because the benefits that I sought was a comfortable ride and have all-wheel drive capabilities. So that particular model of the Rogue fit my needs. Usage patterns, light, medium, or heavy users, and loyalty programs build on satisfying heavy users. So let's look at the bottom of slide number 13. There's a lot of good stuff there to speak about. You will have access to these slides. These slides are my slides, the instructor slides. So they have more annotation. They follow the book more in tandem. So let's start with benefits sought. Why do people buy things? That is what the crucial value-adding properties of an offering. For many people, for example, a Walmart supercenter offers the ultimate and one-stop shopping, so it's very convenient. The idea of going to one store and getting everything from groceries to CDs to kitty litter has a lot of appeal. If the critical benefits sought is broad selection, low prices, and infrequent extended trips to the store, you go to Walmart because you don't want to go there that often. On the other hand, in recent years, Walgreens drugstores have been cropping up on corner after corner of high-traffic streets, and Walgreens has been extremely successful in appealing to a shopper seeking a different set of benefits, namely less time in the store and a lower level of hassle. The chain caters to consumers for whom the convenience of having a store that is close to home or en route to work trumps other potential benefits such as selection and price. So they're willing to pay a higher price, and have less selection to have more convenience. Again, That goes based on benefits sought. People are different. If you're living in a rural America, you just want to have that general store feeling, so you'll go to Walmart. You don't care as much, and maybe your income is less in those rural areas, so you're fixated on price. Whereas in the city, people have higher incomes; they may be willing to forego that savings. Usage patterns, as mentioned, segmented by usage patterns, including usage occasions, usage rate, and user status. Occasions mean specifically when the product is used. Why do you buy greeting cards, right? What causes you to take your significant other out for a special dinner, an anniversary, for example? What makes you break down and rent that tux or buy that formal outfit? Each of these purchases is driven by occasion, and marketers are very savvy at playing to the consumer's desires to use occasions as a reason to buy. And you see this all the time before Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, etc., graduation time. Towards the end of May, beginning of June, you see a lot of graduation stuff being marketed. Now, segmenting consumer markets, slide 14. Firms use multiple segmentation approaches simultaneously. Firms develop a profile of a segment that might include aspects of any or all of the segmentation approaches. Slide 15. So steps into target marketing. Analyze market segments, develop profiles of each potential target market, select a target marketing approach. Slide 16, demographic, industry, company size, location, operating variables, technology, user status, customer capabilities. Purchasing approaches, purchasing function, organization, power structure, nature of existing relationships, general purchasing policies, and purchasing criteria. Slide 17, situational factors, urgency, specific applications, size of order. Personal characteristics, buyer, seller similarity, attitudes towards risk, and of course, loyalty, how much of it. Slide 18, target marketing, market segmentation analysis. So a number of strategic factors come into play when analyzing whether a segment is a good candidate for investment as a target market or not. Many different factors should be considered in the analysis. Now I'm reading from the bottom of the slide where there's more information. The goal is to determine the relative attractiveness of various segments using return on investment, which is very important. Everything else being equal, it is prudent to assign a high level of attractiveness to segments that provide the quickest, highest level, and longest sustaining anticipated ROI. Several factors should be considered when analyzing segment attractiveness. The following are among the most important: segment size and growth potential, competitive forces related to the segment, and overall strategic fit of the segment to the company's goals and value-adding capabilities. Segment size and growth potential. Reckitt Benckiser is a British consumer goods company known for brands such as Dettol and the best-selling antiseptic in the world, Veet, the best-selling depilatory brand. Depilatory meaning it takes your hair off your face without having to shave, or your legs or your armpits and all those other areas where hair crop up that you want to remove. And smaller brands such as Clearasil, Lysol. Its biggest brand, however, are less well known in the U.S., so to move into the U.S. markets where it was not well represented, the company acquired Mucinex, Delsym, and eventually Cepacol. These are all different types of over-the-counter medications, which positioned it squarely in the cough and cold market, because everybody in America knows what Mucinex is and Delsym. That I didn't know, but I definitely know what Cepacol is. If you go to any CVS, you'll know those things. So in order to, basically what they did was they piggybacked on what was successful here in America. Excuse me. Competitive forces related to the segment. In Chapter 3 identified Michael Porter's competitive forces that firms must be cognizant of when considering investment in a new target market. For Reckitt Benckiser's cough and cold business mentioned above, several of these forces predominate. First, rivalry among existing firms is fierce. Reckitt Benckiser entered a market dominated by Johnson & Johnson, which is huge, but with fierce competition from brands like P&G and Procter & Gamble as well. Second, a strong threat of substitute products is present in the form of a variety of cough and cold remedies, all different kinds, from homeopathic treatments to prescription medication to less conventional treatments like nasal irrigation through neti pots and other sinus washes. Again, you go online, you'll find these things. New entrants are less of a threat, as patents and R&D make the barriers to entry high and suppliers are not highly concentrated. Strategic fit of the segment. Strategic fit means there's a good match of a target market to the firm's internal structure, cultural goals, and resource capabilities. In the case of Reckitt Benckiser acquisition of Mucinex and Delsym, the advantages and strategic fit were clear. The company already possessed similar international brands and so had experience with sourcing, production, and marketing. So they weren't coming out from left field. The brands also fit in well with existing cleaning and disinfecting lines owned by Reckitt Benckiser, such as Lysol, since purchases of disinfectants often go hand in hand with purchases of cough or cold medication. Just look at the coronavirus. When it started out, everybody was crazy looking for Lysol wipes and all kinds of other things, and hand sanitizers and masks and whatnot. The nature of the acquired brands was a great strategic fit for much of what Reckitt Benckiser already does in the market, so it made sense for them to do it. Target marketing profile. So we have primary, and this is slide 19. Primary target markets, those segments that clearly have the best chance of meeting ROI goals and other attractiveness factors. Secondary target markets, those segments that have reasonable potential, but for one reason or another are not the best suited for development immediately. Tertiary target markets, those segments that may develop emerging attractiveness for investment in the future, but that do not appear attractive at present. Target markets to abandon for the future, those are basically the dogs in terms of getting a divestiture. Slide 20, if we expand it, Exhibit 7.12, continuum of target marketing approaches. On the very broad side, undifferentiated target marketing, and then you get closer to the more narrow, differentiated, then concentrated, and then customized target marketing, which is more expensive, like anything else that's customized. Target marketing, select an approach. Either do undifferentiated, differentiated, concentrated target marketing, or customized. And if you look at the bottom of the slide, it goes into it more in detail. So the broadest possible approach is undifferentiated target marketing, which is essentially a one market strategy, a one pony show, sometimes referred to as unsegmented mass market. And there is definitely what to say about that. People do mass market products. I mean, just look at any time where you have a billboard. That's a form of mass marketing. Firms whose markets approach is grounded in Porter's competitive strategy of low cost may use a relatively undifferentiated target marketing strategy based primarily on the resulting price advantage. It's cheaper. You don't have to segment that. You don't have to do any segmentation. Now, you get more narrow, differentiated target marketing, often referred to simply as differentiation, which, as you read early in this chapter, means developing different value offerings for different target segments. Possible sources of differentiation are many and include innovation and research and development, product quality, service leadership, employees, convenience, brand image, technology, corporate social responsibility, and many others. Marketing, a concentrated target market approach, which Michael Porter refers to as focus strategy, and is also popularly called a niche strategy, involves targeting a large portion of a small market. With the proliferation of CRM, customer relations management, firms are able to develop more customized approaches to target marketing. In Chapter 1, we said that customized one-to-one marketing advocates that firms should direct energy and resources into establishing a learning relationship with each customer and then connect that knowledge with the firm's production and service capabilities to fulfill the customer's needs in as custom as a manner as possible and financially feasible. Positioning, the firm must turn its attention to creating, communicating, and delivering the value offering of the target markets, positioning the product so that consumers understand its ability to fulfill their needs and wants. In other words, a car, for example. A car can have fulfill different needs and wants. There are those people, like myself, who just care about reliable cars that won't break down, get you from point A to point B, don't need anything too luxurious, don't want a junky car, don't want something that is not going to be comfortable, but I don't need all the frills. You have those people that need higher levels of opulence, higher levels of extravagance. Positioning is not what the company does to the product, it's what the company does to the mind of the customers. The marketing mix of the product, supply chain, price, and promotion is at the heart of positioning. And positioning strategies for a target market are executed through the development of unique combinations of these marketing mix variables. Positioning doesn't occur in a vacuum. Firms must position their offerings against competitors' offerings. Slide 23. Positioning and research. Positioning studies often start with focus groups that develop set of attributes. Next, surveys are developed that have respondent rate the attributes of the firm of its competitors. Finally, gap analysis is used to determine gaps in what the company promises customers, what it actually delivers. If the gap is wide, then you'll understand why there isn't that much buzz or excitement of that product. Analysis identifies gaps by attribute in importance versus delivery and versus competitors. So many positioning studies start, again, as mentioned, with focus groups that allow participants to talk about aspects of their experience, their feelings, the product. From the focus group, a set of attributes is developed for further analysis. So the focus group gives you that soft underbelly, that qualitative information, and then now that goes into further analysis. Attributes of a product represent salient issues that consumers consider when evaluating the product. Typically, after a series of focus groups to develop or confirm the relevant attributes, the positioning research moves to a survey methodology in which the respondents rate the importance of each attribute. And that's how you know what's more important for positioning, as well as the degree to which each of the several competitors' products exhibit the attributes of interest. The result of such a survey can be analyzed through a gap analysis that shows not only gaps by attribute in importance versus delivery, but also gaps among the competitors in delivery. Slide 24 gives you a a generic price quality perceptual map. So you have an X and Y, high price versus low price, low quality versus high quality. And then you have various positions. You know, those circles that say feasible positions. I mean, there are people for whom that is a feasible position, and they'd be interested in. There are people that want high price and high quality. There are people that want low quality and low price. Again, it may be something like a one-use object. They don't really care about it. It could be something that you just need real quick. They need they're driving somewhere. They need a flashlight. So they don't care. They'll stop it into a 7-Eleven, buy some cheap $10 flashlight. They don't care if it breaks in a week or two. Why? Because they only need it for a short amount of time. It's not something important to them. Then the next one is a perceptual map for a hotel. Positioning involves trade-offs among relevant attributes, not just price and quality. So you have full service, convenient to business district, basic service, and convenient to airport. Those are various attributes that people want and need when considering a hotel. There are people that are very happy with basic service. They're happy with a Motel 6. I personally don't like hotels. I'm one of those neat freaks. I'm not into hotels, but people who travel a lot are very much thinking about this, and they have various wants and needs. Then the next one is about a car, automobile. So you have highly sporty, high prestige, low prestige, and not very sporty. So those are your attributes there. Now, sources of differential competitive advantage. For example, Walmart, its advantage is price leadership. Apple, innovative leadership. Ritz-Carlton, service leadership. BMW, service leadership. Product leadership. Southwest Airlines, personnel leadership. The people there are very nice. Amazon, convenience leadership. Absolute convenient. I don't like the company. I think they're very predatory, but as far as convenience, super convenient. Harley-Davidson, image leadership. You got to have a Harley. Continuation, Audi. Under positioning, Dell, Tiffany's. Over positioning, McDonald's is confused positioning, and AIG is doubtful positioning. Those are various errors that those companies have made. It happens. So let's just discuss what under positioning is when consumers have only a vague idea about the company and its products and do not perceive any real differentiation. That's the problem that Audi had. Although Audi is an amazing car, but again, people get confused about it. Over positioning, Dell and Tiffany's. When consumers have too narrow an understanding of the company's product or brand, and confused positioning, which McDonald's has, when frequent changes and contradictory messages confuse consumers regarding the positioning of the brand, and doubtful positioning, AIG, insurance company, when the claims made for the product or brand are not regarded as credible by consumers. And that's the worst thing when people don't trust you. Thank you so much for coming and listening. Have a great day and be safe.